Listen, I'm a big fan of the Super Nintendo, but its controller is one of the worst things that ever happened to video games. That freaking thing is the embodiment of pure evil. It's a curse on all of us in the games that we loved, not so much because of the way it feels or plays, but because of what it helped to start. The great controller buttons arms race. I mean, 4 face buttons and 2 shoulder buttons? That's like, I mean, I'm not a math guy, but it's like, that's unnecessary. But to me, games were way more fun when you only needed 2 buttons to play them, and this game knows it. That's because this game was directed by the same guy who did the Strider series. You want old school, you want to jump into gameplay without wasting time on learning the functions of 16 different buttons, then you want Moondiver. Released earlier this year to Xbox Live and the PlayStation Network, Moondiver's been called Strider for the 21st century by the team behind it, and honestly, that's not too bad a description of Moondiver. This is an old-school 2D action game. In fact, it's a very old-school 2D action game, and depending on your tastes, that might be one of its shortcomings as well. So you choose between 4 unique characters at the start of the game, each of which possesses strengths and weaknesses unique to that character. And once you've locked in a choice, you set off on your adventure through this futuristic world on the brink of an apocalypse. A small boy with the ability to give life to the lifeless has already destroyed most of the planet, creating a scourge of murderous machinery that has left mankind at the edge of extinction. That's where you come in, because you are a Moondiver, and you're humanity's last hope. You're also a ninja, which, you know, that may or may not be a related issue. A Moondiver just looks old school, and watching this footage, you might think of games like Castlevania or Ninja Gaiden, let alone the obvious Strider. And if you like all those classics, Moondiver is really a game for you, and it looks old school because it is old school. So you probably know the drill. Run through the levels, slash up the enemies, and do your best to survive. The combat is really simple and addictive. It's very arcade-like, and because of that, it's immediately satisfying. But at the same time, there's definitely an inherent degree of shallowness to what you can do in this game. However, the gameplay is definitely enjoyable enough that it doesn't bother you. Again, especially if you're an old schooler. And if you are, you're probably willing to overlook this game's flaws. Actually, you might not even consider them flaws for that matter. For example, dying will take you all the way back to the beginning of a level, even if you're at the freaking boss. The convenience we're used to from modern games naturally makes this seem like a problem. But you know, back in '87, we called this nut-cutting time. So there are definitely some old-school quirks in Moondiver. It's brutal, there are no checkpoints, it's kinda shallow. But the game also has some modern flair as well, in the form of some light RPG elements. You can level up your character at the end of each level, and that goes a long way in making the game's repetitive combat seem worthwhile. It's really an excellent addition and a perfect fit for a 2D action game. So you pair its simple gameplay with the incentive to improve your skills, and frankly, it's hard to stop playing Moondiver. Now, it's not a great game, and sure, the graphics are average and the story is incoherent, but back in the day, those things didn't matter. Quality was dictated by how sore a game could make your thumb. And on that scale, consider Moondiver a refreshing thumb throbber.